Yo, good morning. What's going on, everyone? Seth Miranda with the one and only, the immortal. I'm trying to make that stick. The immortal Joe McNally. What's going on, Joe?
I'm good.
We are.
No, it's just fun to be here. It's fun to be here. This is going to be lively.
It is going to be lively. We are here at 42 West 18th Street. This is the actual Adorama store. These are actual people who showed up for a change. No, but this is the store. So you guys can come swing by if you're in New York. It's a great place to stop out if you are a photo nerd of any kind. I do want to quickly, before we get into anything, say what's up to our sponsor. Boom. Printique. Yeah, Adorama's got a print lab. You guys know about it. And I think this is the right time to get into it if you're a pro photographer that's trying to get family portraits out there, holiday stuff out there. It's a good time. You know why? Bing. There's a code. Check that out. Gifted 20. If you go and check out any order of $50, you can save 20%, I believe, using that code. And Joe, I got something special for you later from Printique.
Awesome. I use Printique. You know, the quality of the prints is off the charts.
All right, here's the money.
Thank you. I thought I wasn't getting. I thought all I get is coffee. And they said, "Come down here. We're going to give you a cup of coffee." I'm like, "All right, fine."
Joe actually did do a live stream where he unboxed, I think, books from Printique. Or some prints from Printique or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, we've had a relationship for a while, and I'm not blowing the smoke here. I mean, the turnaround is excellent time wise. You know, you can still get something for the holidays if you want. You know, and I've got a couple of their prints on the wall. They look great.
Your walls are covered, and I mean, you want to talk about a flex. Joe's a really nice guy, and he'll never be like, "I'm Joe McNally," but while he's being all, aw shucks, behind him are 9 foot tall covers of Time and like National Geographic, and like you're like.
Well, I do have this one really big cover of the Geographic that I'm not supposed to have, and it was in the lobby, and it's literally like it's 4 feet by 6 feet. You know?
It is huge.
It's really huge. I wasn't supposed to have it. But my editor and I, who's a very dear friend, we worked it out like sort of after hours. I backed my truck up outside of National Geographic.
If it starts with I backed my truck up, it's a good story. It's a good.
And we just walked out of the lobby with it. We looked like we knew what we were doing, which is is part of a photo assignment. You can get all sorts of places if you just carry a camera and look like you're supposed to be there.
You're so old school.
You know?
You're so old school.
That's how I used to get in. Like I covered the Masters one year. You know, the golf tournament, and you're not allowed as a photographer on the course until like 8 o'clock in the morning. I would be there at 4:30 in the morning. I'd walk in the service entrance.
I'm 3 minutes into this, guys. I'm 3 minutes into this, guys.
And all you do is you walk in where all the food service stuff is coming in. It's like, hey, how you doing? How you doing? Hey, how you doing? Next thing you know, you're out on the course. It's totally dark, and nobody screws with you.
I'm telling you, you just got to put together a movie or a series, Netflix. You know, all these stories get, who would you get to play you again? Oh, yeah. Without even blinking, he goes, Matt Damon. Before we get into that, I just want to say thanks to Brulita for the coffee. Joe put in his order, and it was amazing because I asked Fernando, hey, what does Joe get coffee-wise? And he goes, black with 2 sugars like a beat cop. Cheers.
What are you going to do? Thank you for the invitation. And I'm happy to be at the store. I have to tell you, I have a long relationship with the store.
Yeah, you do.
It's a pretty emotional relationship, really. I really am very, very fond of the people here and the spirit that the store
We wouldn't have met. We wouldn't have met if it wasn't for the store. I wouldn't have known Daniel. I wouldn't have been doing demos. I wouldn't have gone to your classes. I mean, so the 9/11 portraits were part of it. I mean, everything. It's so hard to describe what Adorama is beyond being a store if you haven't been here and interacted as a community for photo nerds. Like, it really is. It's just, you always run into somebody that's doing something. Like, it's just crazy.
Yeah, it's a community. That's the best part about it to me.
Yes. You know? Yeah. And you look, I'm kind of tired of you. We spent the week in London. I've known you for how many years, right? Like,
I know.
You've got to be tired of me by this point. And you can check out the London trip on my own YouTube channel, but stick around. Don't go there yet. You've been interviewed a million times. We did a podcast while we were over there, right? It was over an hour long. You've been asked the same questions over again, so I'm going to ask you. We've known each other a long time. We've been through a few things, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay, so you trust me a little bit, right?
Yeah.
All right, okay. I'm going to ask you a hard question. I hope you're okay with this while you're live. Fernando's giving me the side eye. I'm doing it. I can't believe I'm asking this. Joe, don't hate me, man. Who would win in a fight, French toast or pancakes? We both know waffles would destroy both of them, but I need to know who would be the contender to go for the gold.
Oh, Lord, it's absolutely French toast, hands down.
Wow, I did not think he'd do that. Tell me, what it's they got that extra crust, right?
Yeah, but you can customize French toast in a way that you know, pancakes. Yeah, you throw some berries in there, you know, whatever, you know. But you know, French toast, you can grill it with like, you know, butter and you can
His eyes are
use
closed.
different. Yeah, no, I'm getting aroused. What can I say? You know, I'm talking about French toast. Was that the wrong thing to say? Can I say that?
God, I love you, Joe.
You know,
I wanted to throw that out there because I got to tell you, I haven't seen one interview with you where you didn't get deep diving and super serious. And the Joe I know is the funniest guy with the craziest like anecdotes, but all people talk to you about is photo. It's the same thing. Where do you get your inspiration from? How do you do this? Where do you come up with that? And it's like, I see you go into autopilot.
Well, yeah, I mean, but it's understandable at the same time, you know, because we are, I think part of the reason we were just talking about photo community is that we are in this together. We are all seeking answers. You know, though there are no answers to photography, right?
Right.
It's a steep uphill climb for your whole life. Right. And that's why I always love, you know, people ask me all the time, like, you know, what's your favorite picture, this and that. And I've always loved the quote from Imogen Cunningham years ago when she was asked that question. She said very definitively, my favorite picture is the one I'm going to take tomorrow. Because this is not it's a career and it's an endeavor and it's all this. It's a quest.
Wow.
It's a quest.
Wow.
Because it's like, I don't know, the Holy Grail out there or something. That picture you seek, the alchemy that you seek behind the camera, only happens every once in a while. I say this all the time. In classes, I say, why, when you go to an exhibit of a really, really famous photographer's work, I'm talking Eisenstadt, you know, Carl Meidans, Gordon Parks, why do you see the same 30 or 40 pictures? Because the angels sat on their shoulders 30 or 40 times in their entire career. Right?
It's well, also, I think a lot of photographers, we have images that we didn't hit certain ways, but especially when, how many times have we seen photographers that are long gone and then like their B-sides come out and you go, I like that even more, but it was never what other people thought to put forward. And sometimes I think there's a discussion of like the Emperor's New Clothes, like this because other people said to like this, but what about this? No, this is the famous one. You know, and it's kind of it's a little bit like that to me sometimes. And I like going to the exhibits here in New York. I'm very fortunate to be here in New York because I can go to these exhibits and go. I saw an Avedon exhibit of images I never saw him that he shot before, and I was like, these are incredible. And no one probably saw these because they weren't pushed the way the other ones were. But there's probably a connection to these that he had that we don't know. We both have shots that were just for us. We haven't shot it, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, sometimes my assistants, whatnot, used to make fun of me, you know, and be like, well, this is, you know, it wasn't published, but it's one of my favorite pictures. And they're like, oh, it's another of Joe's favorite pictures, you know, and they would get completely bored and they'd give me a ton of grief. But, yeah, I mean, as a publications photographer, I sort of by rote just assumed that whatever was published in the magazine, that was my best shot.
Right. Yeah. Same thing. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
I at that point, I wouldn't even dive further into the take. It's like, okay, it's done. Now I'm on to the next thing.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know about for you, because we're different generations and I feel like and you went to like super high level things. I was like, you know, I was in trash rags, you know what I mean? Like it's like, but
I've got my share of ink and trash rags. Tell me about
it. But I think when you see the one they pick for a little while, it shapes the way you edit your own and cull your own work sometimes.
Absolutely.
And you forgot some stuff. I go back to other like folders and like slides, some sheets of slides. I'm like, no, this was it. Why did I listen to that guy? That magazine's not even around anymore. Why would I even care, you know?
Exactly. You know, I think about some of the, you know, great, powerful Oz editors I grew up working for, and some of them were arrogant asses.
Some.
You know, and now where are they? You know, where are they?
Yeah, where are you? Where are you now? What's up?
They're on LinkedIn and they're listing, you know, being on the board of Eddie Adams as productive employment. You know, it's just not there. You know, so the thing is, we're very resilient. As you say, publications have come and gone.
Yeah.
Right. And every once in a while, I'll use the illusion like after the bombs drop. I'm like a radioactive cockroach. You know, I'll come out on top of the rubble. I'll look around and say, okay, here, who needs a picture? You know, because you can't kill us. because we love what we do so much.
I love how you have material. You know, like you're not just it's like you have pages of your books that are just stuck in your brain, and you're just ready to go as answers. And they're so like prolific, and these thesaurus words you're throwing at me and stuff like this and the like. I mean. Nah,
You know, what are you gonna do?
I hope you guys can get the thing that's really special about Joe is just how invested he is still in and was in every image he shot. It's not just like, all right, look, there's some bokeh. Like, no, yeah, look at that face.
It's, you know. Does that come across? Is there audio on that?
Yeah, there's audio on that. Don't worry about that part.
You know, I feel like one of those monks in Monty Python. Oh, no. Oh, no. You know?
How many of you got that? Because I wonder how young our audience is now.
Yeah. Well, that was what my assistants were terrific on, always on location, you know, because I'll throw out some sort of cultural, you know, kind of allusion or, you know, artifact or something like that to say a subject. I'm thinking about this or this and then, and they'll come up to me and they'll whisper in my ear, she's not going to be aware.
Yeah, you definitely find it like, oh, you're working with some young models today. Yes, I am.
Yes.
You don't know who Bella Lugosi is? I can't work with her. I'm sorry. It's over. You know?
I have Bella Lugosi up on my wall at home.
I know you do. I've seen, I got to go to Joe's home and see all the stuff. And I think you can tell a lot about people about what they're surrounded by. You know, I have a lot of the type of artwork, the things that you're inundated with, because that's what subconsciously creeps into your work. You know, you don't realize that you're kind of mimicking certain little aspects of things. And I personally keep a conscious, like hopefully I want that in the back of my mind. So I remember to pull that out when I got to do that kind of shot. Mm-hmm. But when you go around Joe's, it's like Greg Eisler shot Venom and Carnage. And then it's like, what? I mean, but I do love that we both have the same affliction for the Universal monsters, like the classic real deal horror that they sucked at rebooting lately. But I mean, come on, those movies were pretty bad.
One of my favorite comics as a kid was Green Lantern.
Yeah,
Hello.
That was a horrible movie.
Bad movie.
You really liked Green Lantern? I couldn't peg you as a Lantern guy.
Well, I was mostly not on the DC side of the fence. I have to say that.
Yeah,
I was mostly on the Marvel side of the fence. I love the artwork of Frank Frazetta. You know, I mean, the original Conan drawings and all that stuff. I grew up on comic books, and you can see it in my work.
Yeah, no, you definitely have a wonderment to your shots. And I always say you're like the Spielberg because you have that kind of like wonder to like he does, and you go that big. And like, honestly, I know you don't like hearing stuff, but like the legendary thing is part of that. Like you get to step into Joe's imagination, and he has an amazing team that gets it there. But it's really, I feel like that's the gift that we get as photographers and visual artists and creatives is that whatever's in here, I can scrape it out and really put it out there in the world for real. Like someone could actually experience it the way I'm experiencing it. Right. And if you're not a good communicator, it's the best gift in the world to be able to harness that technique and talent.
Sure. I mean, you can literally physicalize your imagination by making a photograph of it. Yeah. And then your imagination becomes real on some level.
So as far as... Who do you think, as far as like concept-wise in character design, has influenced where you go with your work? Like, do you feel you're on a Spider-Man kick? Do you feel like because I feel like DC has the better lighting than Marvel in the artwork sometimes. Yeah. Alex Ross, you know.
Yeah, I mean the DC comics I think were drawn in a more declarative, literal way.
Yes.
You know.
Yep.
But I love the fact that a lot of Marvel characters had serious character flaws.
Yeah.
You know, or background things that were playing into their head, angst, anguish, all that sort of stuff. And when you have a superpower, you know, and just as we have, or as a community of creators, what fuels some of that creation is some of that inner angst. Some of that thing we miss, something that we always think we're not good enough.
Yep.
So we're always trying to prove ourselves. That, circling back to the editing thing, that's why all of a sudden, you know, if I had a magazine say, okay, these are the ones we're going to run, I would abandon my best instincts sometimes and say, okay, well, they know better, right? Because photographers are notoriously poor editors of their own work. Right.
Well, we think everything's great.
Close. Yeah.
Here's these 100 images from this one job.
Yeah. Yeah. There are those out there, but most photographers who are worth their salt look at their take and say, I I should have done better.
Yes, exactly.
I'm like, oh, okay. And then someone comes along and pats him on the back and says, these are great. This is what we're going to run. You think, oh, my God. It's like Sally Field at the Oscars. They like me. They really like me. Oh, my God. I have to keep doing this.
Cut that and put it in a reel on Instagram, please. Thank you. No, I think it's really interesting when you see what people are influenced by and you can kind of feel it. But I think there's something about the comic book thing. One, I feel that it's a mythology that we can grip. It's just like instead of the Greek mythology, we have and they did steal from Greek mythology half the time anyway.
Absolutely.
One of the things, the storylines that hit me hard as a kid was when Iron Man became an alcoholic. And it blew my mind that this was, because you never thought that things would go that way. But when you got other artists like, oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. The guy who did Daredevil. He redid Daredevil. He did 300.
Ben Affleck?
No, and he also did 300. Oh my
Gerard
God.
Butler?
Frank Miller. Miller.
Oh, the original. Oh, yeah.
When he did, yes, and when he did his version of Daredevil, it went from this like, hey, I'm a guy that has no fear and I'm jumping around, and it was like, oh my God, like he's blind and he's like, it got so deep. And I feel if you could get past the goofiness of comic books and get to that point, that's where you really see the influence, I feel.
It's also very storytelling. Comic book panels move you with logic and power. And if you can ascertain that or identify that as a photographer, it aids in your ability to create a story. I mean, think of hero point of view, color, those tools that you use. I use them when I photograph athletes all the time.
Oh yeah,
low angle, color, power.
Well, they are super. If I took one of your images, I could do that. Maybe I'll put it on AI. I'll steal one of your images and do it. No, look at your face. I know. Breathe. It's okay. Listen, I'm here.
I'm gonna pour hot coffee on your lap in a minute.
Like I haven't had that before. No, but you could easily take one of your athlete portraits. There's one in my head right now, which, by the way, is the superpower of Joe, is that I can pull images that he shot out of the Rolodex in my head. I can't say that about a lot of photographers out there. But look at this. You take this, right? You could throw a cape on that guy, and that is superhero level posing, stature, presence, atmosphere. Everything in that shot is straight out of a comic book to me.
Yeah. I mean, he's in the Martial Arts Hall of Fame, and I don't know if this is the right terminology, form follows function or whatever, but the subject is intrinsically linked. Has to be to your thought process. And so the lighting there is not an accident. I wanted him to look edged out and formidable, like a guy you don't want to get into the ring with, because he'll kick your butt.
I thought all your shots are luck. What do you mean? What are you talking about? I haven't seen you throw down 100 strobes to just get that little one. Okay, hold on. I gotta tell a story. One time Joe tried to explain to me, he's looking, I'm not kidding. You said this, like, I know, Seth, I want that slippery light. Tell me again, Joe. And what does he do? Repeats the exact sentence again. Yeah. No, the slippery light? What does that even mean, Joe? You don't even remember what you meant.
No,
see?
I don't. But here's the thing. I think if you treat light like a very human being almost, or a human situation, if you describe it in certain terms, it's voluptuous, it's baroque.
Well, it's character.
It speaks the same way language does.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
mean, as I say to people, I'm trying to teach lighting. I'm like, look, you're not going to light Beyonce the same way you're going to light Clint Eastwood. The character speaks to you, and then you fall into that light.
See, this is why I know I'm the grumpy guy. This is why I hate when people go, Rembrandt lighting's my favorite. No, it's not. You just like some noirish type thing. You don't.
Do you slap them as well?
No,
it's not.
If I could,
go to bed without dinner.
Yeah, but they're not even. So what's the subject? What do you mean you like What do you mean you like that lighting? You don't even know what you're shooting, but you like that. Like that drives me nuts. Because they'll fall into it as a fail-safe, as like, I don't know. It's just like the guys that throw beauty dish at everything. Like, yo, that's a deliberate light shaper, homie.
Do they hurt their subjects? I mean, a beauty dish is really...
It is a hard beauty dish.
Just to throw it at your... Oh, my God.
Well, that's how the dent happened on the one me and Dan used at the studio. That is a magic dent, though.
But it's okay to like a certain style.
Oh, don't give them... Don't you dare.
Like, I was very influenced by... Lord Snowden and Northlight.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
and also the Dutch painters, you know, that soft north window light. To me, that's like, you know, home base. You know, if I see that kind of light, I call it Irish pub light. That, you know, because it's always cloudy in Ireland, and people are always at the pub, and there's a window, and you get some guy sitting by the window who
nailed
looks
it.
like he hasn't gone home for 6 or 7 days, and he's just been pumping himself full of Guinness, and that guy is there, and that to me is a beautiful portrait.
You know what I think part of the key to the way you sculpt out a language, like, because I always say that, like, every decision in a frame is a word in a sentence. It's our language. We have to be coherent. We have to have intent. We always talk about intent all the time.
Right.
But one of the reasons I think you're so successful at your intent is because you've been through so many versions of it. You've seen that guy in that pub 1,000,000 times. You've shot that guy 100 times. You're going to a place. You're already categorizing people to things you've already shot, and to build up that Rolodex, it takes a lifetime. And what does it feel like to be at a place that you've had so much under your belt that you could just walk in and go, boom? It's got to be amazing.
It does feel good. Remember, that Rolodex of mine also has a substantial chapter of failure.
I know.
You know,
You're a failure, Joe. We
you
know.
know,
He's a failure.
Failure is a form of progress.
Everyone type Joe failure in the chat.
You know.
Just kidding.
Go for it. Go ahead. Try and hurt me. You know, go ahead.
Yeah, but you've been through so much. You have such a callus. I think that's the way I always think about you, is like you have such a callus. 'Cause I've seen you in those situations where your back was on the wall. There's an entire team. It's not just you. There's a whole thing on your back, and you're really trying to get there. Like your own words, you're chasing Mercury. Right. And I've seen you rack your brain, and then it hits. You found something you did somewhere, somehow, and it just nails it. And it's something you experience when you assist great photographers and great creatives.
Yeah, and it becomes a very human process because they see you succeed.
Yeah.
You know, the crew, the assistants, whatever. They have also seen you just crash and burn. And the lesson in there is, how do you recover from that?
It's the surviving it.
You know, how do you just kind of put that in the rearview mirror, learn from it, and move on? You know, I lost a client. I've lost clients throughout the years. I was doing a series of stories for National Geographic, and I was assigned to do a story right in the middle of that for Geo magazine many years ago. And I really wanted
magazine.
Yeah, GEO, or we would call it over here Geo. It was a very formidable picture magazine. It's much reduced in profile now as magazines go, and I really wanted to do the story, and I should have said no because I had so much other stuff going on. I gave it the back of my hand, lost the client forever.
Wow.
You know,
what was the subject, you mind me asking?
It was the New York docks. They wanted me to shoot the waterfront of New York, which you ordinarily would be like, oh wow, what an amazing opportunity, and I just did pro forma crap, really, because it was all I could manage, and I paid the price for it.
But you're no stranger to shooting any of that stuff. I think you were telling me in Europe, you were on the docks and you were climbing ships during thunderstorms and all craziness.
Yeah. I've always loved that kind of work, but in this instance, I think exhaustion was part of it, and just having not enough of a connection and time to really turn the corner on the story. And you know, editors are editors; they're not going to cut you any slack. Their jobs are dependent on how you do. They spent money on you. You better frickin' deliver.
Yeah. You know? Do you think with your career? I feel like a percentage of your career is just pure adventure. You always tell me these crazy stories, like I had this button that was going to get me out of here with this chopper, and I was inches away. You know that's a real story you have, right? I was inches away from hitting it, Seth. I'm telling you, and I was delirious. I was seeing Dolly Parton in my head, but I said, no, I'm not going to hit this. Like you have these stories. They sound crazy, but he has these stories. And I'm like, do you think that like a kid starting today, do you think there's still that adventure out there? Do you think with the speed we're working at, the less legacy the images have that we have nowadays, do you feel it's still here?
I think it's achievable. I think it's far more difficult because the lack of permanence, you know, because Instagram and all these forums are very fleeting. People are spending less and less time. Long form journalism is really, it's tough to find funding for, let me put it that way. I had the benefit of having powerful magazines assigning me to do stuff I would have paid them to do. but I had the benefit of actually being hired and being paid to go off and do some of these wildly adventuresome things, and that's still happening. But what photographers have had to realize over time is that their responsibility to keep doing that work has been largely shifted back on them. So very successful people who are continuing to be successful are really building ecosystems around them, like Paul Nicklin and Sea Legacy, Paul Nicklin and Christina Mittermeier, Amy Vitale with Vital Impacts.
Yeah.
They're accruing around them a certain support mechanism that's enabling them to do their work, because the magazines are just not doing it anymore.
Yeah, I feel like it's a lot of self-ambition these days. And so it's kind of like a give and take, or catch-22. I always say we're in this era of self-publication. Like when I was coming up, you fought to get into conference rooms to slap a stack of slides down, hoping an editor would give you a shot. Now you can self-publish, even if it's on Instagram, and build your own audience and build your own way. It's up to you, though. But I guess now the question is, does this generation have that ambition, right?
You have to be pretty hungry.
Yeah.
You really do. I mean, one thing I think is very similar, it's a characteristic we both have shared since we were young photographers, years ago, starting in this business. Of course, I started a long time ago, but we share a legacy of hunger. Like, I was desperate when I came to New York. I would go home to my flop house apartment on the Upper West Side. I was a copy boy at the New York Daily News, and I'd sit on the bed and I'd just start weeping, because nobody would give me a job to go shoot a picture. Now, I didn't have all that much self-assessment at that time. I didn't know enough for anybody to assign me. It was the right thing to do to not assign me, But I didn't realize that because I had such angst about getting after this.
Right. I look back at some of the things I did when I was younger, I said yes to jobs I definitely was not fit for, but I really thought I could do it. Now knowing everything, I'm like, man, I don't know if that should have been, I think back, I'm like, man, I had some real guts back then. What happened to me? I was like,
I've looked at some of my archive, with COVID and whatnot, and I dove back into my archive. I've looked at stuff and I'm like, I'm amazed I ever got another assignment, because this sucks.
Yeah, but you know what? I think one of the keys to the way you kept going is Joe has always understood the importance of relationships, and he taught me a lot about establishing relationships in this industry. Just to give you an idea, you guys know the legendary Cliff Hausner. He did a demo here. The Cliff Hausner. Joe used to run film for his father at the Times. Like, that's how connected this game is.
Yeah. Eddie Hausner was a gentleman of the business. He didn't have to be nice to me. I was a copy kid at the New York Daily News. He was one of the stellar staff photographers at the New York Times. He was a big deal.
He was.
And he was always nice to me, always kind. And, it's a lesson you learn, because some of the photographers I grew up with, like at the newspaper and whatnot, they'd be like, get out of my way, kid. They wouldn't tell you what they were doing. They were afraid of you because they didn't have the confidence in and of themselves to share what they termed their secrets.
Yeah, but I get the insecurity because over the years, look, I as crazy as it sounds, I've been in this for 25 years of my life. That's the majority of my life. Mm-hmm. And I remember absolutely losing jobs to people. I remember not making my rent because I didn't get that job. And you get scared. You get shook. For a while, you have no savings. You're trying to buy that next lens because you think it'll get you somewhere to do something. Like, it's scary. It's absolutely scary. And you said it the best. I never even thought about this till you said it one time. And a lot, because we were talking one time about like YouTubers and camera reviewers as opposed to professional photographers, stuff like that. And you were like, they don't even understand the concept of putting the mantle of a freelancer on. And I was like, wow, I never thought about it like that. But yeah, it really is like that.
Yeah, you take on it's a responsibility.
Yes.
And it also, again, time-honored phrase, food for the table, food for the soul. We've both done jobs that we're not proud of, that we didn't want to do, but we had to keep the lights on.
I needed the money, man.
You got to keep the lights on. Back in the day, I had my first two 600 millimeter F4s. I sold them both to pay the rent.
Yeah, you once told me that you kind of looked at them like, if anything else fails, I could pawn that or sell that. I always have one in and one out. You always said like one's in the locker, one's out being sold or something. Yeah. And I was always like, man, that's a wild concept, man.
It's bumpy out there. It's not a straight line path. And I think sometimes the illusion is created via the digital technology being so facile, so available, so quick, so responsive, that some folks grab a camera and think, zoom, This is a super highway to success.
Yeah, I'm going to take some questions from the chat. So someone's actually asking, when did you actually get your start? 1937.
And I tell you, glass plates were heavy.
Glass plates are hard. Glass plates are hard. You shot glass plates, right? I did 8x10 glass plates.
No, I've never shot glass plates.
Really?
No, never.
You never did wet plate?
No, never.
I can't talk to you. I can't talk to you.
Oh, yeah. No, I see some of that technology, people bringing, what is the colloidal print process and this and that. And I'm like, sometimes I look at that and I say, okay, yeah. So let's take a bad photograph, print it in a traditional way so it's even more obscure, and then call it special. But that's a personal opinion.
Ooh, he's so ooh. No, there's something when you do a nailed down wet plate and it's like crazy shallow. It has that like shot through a bottle kind of feel.
Yeah.
You're shoving 4,800 watt seconds of strobe through that 4x5. I lost my 8x10. That's right. It got stolen. Never mind. It's. Well, another whole crazy story. That was in an old studio I had in Brooklyn that was painted matte black, and never mind. It was no windows. How did they get in? Anyway, so but when you get to the point that that's the only existence of that image and it's on that wet plate, there's a presence to it in front of you that I don't think is replicated by the way people are seeing them now on Instagram. Like, you have to be there for it.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's ubiquitous, right? The image is everywhere. You've got all these different sites. You've got, 500 pixels. You've got all of these congregations of photographs, Instagram, et cetera. And we are bombarded with it. And so I think the permanence thing is affecting young photographers because, circling back to the way we were talking, is like I have a very good friend, former assistant, Drew Gurian, for instance.
Drew's amazing, by the way. If you check him out, he's got a crazy work.
He's super talented, and he's had billboards and all that sort of stuff, going on, and he's doing fine, But we talk about it, and I say, look, the advantage I had was that if I shot a cover of the National Geographic, people talked about it. It stayed on the newsstand for a month.
Yes.
Now it's like it's gone.
Yep.
It's gone. So that.
Well, now it's about it being shared. Now it's about it getting longevity by being passed around.
Oh yeah. Okay, I didn't think of that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really what it is. Because I remember here at Union Square when I shot in the BMX days, if you got a cover or a page in a BMX magazine and you went literally across the street to a Barnes & Noble, you bought the entire stack because you thought it was awesome. Then you realize no one's going to see it if you buy the entire stack, but you did anyway. And I remember passing them out, and everybody you were a celebrity.
Yeah.
You were like a god on the block for a minute, and you just chase it. You're like, I got to get another one. I got to get another one. But then 30 days, you never existed.
Right. Yep.
Those tear sheets exist for you and nobody else.
That's why so many photographers ultimately, if they're so inclined, they'll do a book. And it's largely a vanity press, right? It's not, but there is a permanence. You can it's like a 10-pound business card. Boom. In that book. That's me, in that book.
But why? But your books have never been like that. Your books has always been an explanation of what it took to get to. I kind of look at your books in a Jackson Pollock kind of way, where it's like, you're telling me everything that it took to get there. We're just seeing a souvenir. Because that was his whole thing, was you missed everything. This is the pain that happened. You missed what happened. And I feel like that's how your books are. That's why I love Sketching Lights, like my favorite book you put out. Mm-hmm. I just feel like I'm there. I'm in it with you. You give me your mindset. How come you never did this is my book? You always felt like you had to tell it.
I don't know. I mean, maybe that's in my future, perhaps. I mean, John Loengard was my mentor for many years. He was the director of photography at Life. He was a legendary photographer. He's gone now, but I showed him one of my books, the very first one actually. I went to his apartment in New York. It was Moment of Clicks, and I showed him the book because I was proud of it. But John was formidable, formidable and incredibly smart, and so he flipped through it. It took him less than a minute, really, to go through the entire book. And I had shot Leonard Bernstein for him. Okay. And it was in Life magazine, and he had edited that take. And he gave me the book back, and he goes, "That's nice." Yeah. He goes, "You cropped Bernstein."
That's
it was
sick.
like somebody put a shiv right between my ribs. I'm like, yeah, I did. And to that end, that made the Bernstein picture for John somewhat impure.
Trivial, right?
You know, it frittered away at the legitimacy of it, because the way Life ran it, the way he edited it, that was Leonard Bernstein at the piano.
Okay.
You know,
That's it, and that's just goes back to us talking about the editors having a different look. But it's also a different application. I mean, you're looking at a collective of work in this case. You're not looking at the impact of the story. But I always looked at your books like, wow, like the story and what it is and how he did it is just as important as the image, because there's so many books out there that are like $300 books, nice prints. But how am I going to get connected to it if I don't know how hard you were connected to it? That's why I think people gravitate to your work so much. If I ever put a book out, which I never will, I'd slap it in front of you first. I want to see what you say about it. He'd be like, "Oh,
he should. He should."
I'm never doing a book. Never.
You know? Yeah, but I do appreciate the simplicity of certain books that are photographers collect the best of their work, like Albert Watson, Cyclops. You know, I mean,
bananas.
I totally fanboyed on him once in a bus stop in England at the photography show, and I just about lost everything. I was like, Mr. Watson, my name's Joe McNally. I'm a photographer and a long time, and I was just struggling to find words. The man's vision is so complete. It's so powerful, and the element, when you look at that book, page after page, you are seeing control at the camera.
It's very deliberate.
There's no accidents there. You know, it's his vision wrought. You know, and it's pretty phenomenal. Even
when you listen to the way he describes building out a lighting setup, it's like this tiniest, meticulous little things. It's there for him. It's really, it's admirable. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But yeah, and you've always had this real respect for other photographers, legendary photographers, veterans like that. That's why, and I'm starting a petition now, you should do like a Netflix series where you direct episodes of microbiographies of photographers people should know, because I'll tell you right now, I was talking to some young kid here. He had no idea who Ouija was. I lost my mind. My brain jumped out of my skull, tapped Maury on the shoulder, and ran out the back door. I lost my mind. How do you not know this?
Did that really happen, Maury?
Yeah, Maury's like, I don't know what today is. You know, he's not doing it. No, but I mean, and I think you have this ability to not only tell the story, but you would have a personal investment in why people should be connected. And I think you should really do something like that. Or if not, your own series, your story after story. I'm convinced that half the stuff you're saying is fake. He's like, before you were born, you're not going to check into it. It happened.
Yeah.
You know,
I've done everything on a green screen. Okay. You heard it here. You know, I never left the house.
Well, we were talking about this on the Grays podcast, that you were doing stuff on a level in an era where there was no BTS.
Right.
I mean, you did some banana stuff that maybe you got a side shot out of it, but not really.
Most of the time I didn't. And that, you know, that's okay, because at that moment in time, the realization, the hardcore, bedrock of the industry was the picture you were going to get.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And we were inconsequential.
Right.
You know,
right.
But now it's a different equation.
And, I feel like we have a talk. We always talk about relevancy, you and me. And I feel like to guys like me, Fernando, other photographers that really grind, that have really been through this, you're so relevant to us. And then if you talk to like masses, the people that are just like, what camera should I buy? They can't name one photographer, really. They couldn't even tell you one like hardcore known main photographer. And I feel like that's why I push you so hard to go, just talk to a camera. Just record something, Joe. Just get your face out there and say something, man. You're always guesting on stuff, but I want Joe going out there.
I will. I'm prompted by Seth, but, it's very kind what you just said. You included me in that whole relevancy factor, because usually you call me up in the morning and go, Joe, what are you doing today? Still desperately seeking relevance?
I said that once.
And I'm like, thanks, Seth. I was almost going to enjoy today.
You know why I give Joe a hard time? Because he did it to me. No, that's true. Like, I really appreciate. It's hard to explain if you haven't worked in this industry, that being asked to assist or be on someone's set is them being nice to you, is the privilege, and then go ahead, get hard on them, because this is where you start making the next generation. And you absolutely understood that. It took me a long time. I have so much respect for you, because it took me so long to understand that, because I was all about stepping on people's necks to get jobs. I was all about, I don't care about community. We're solo photographers are very solitary. And Daniel and you really cracked my skull open and was like, no, like you have to understand it's this way. It's relationships. Like, I don't think you understand the little things you've done and the example you've set for my generation shaped the next wave of an industry. Like, you did so much beyond the images for guys like me, for guys like Dan, for people in this chat. What you did, Joe, was set a precedent that we tried to live to. And I don't think you could ever do that unless you're as genuine and as relevant as you actually are. And I'm just hoping that there's a mass audience that can get the same experience that we got. You know, and now you can, because you can spend 4 minutes talking to a stupid vlog cam and infect a bunch of brains. You know, like, go do it, man. There's so much stuff happening in the chat. I'm sorry I'm ignoring you guys. Oh,
yeah,
Jesus.
didn't we start this conversation by looking at each other and say, so what are we going to talk about? You know? Yeah.
Well, I saw an email that they were like, so do you have any talking points? We don't need talking badges. We don't need any badges.
We really should pay attention. People are being very, very kind and kind of sticking with us. Yeah.
So Pierre's asking, do you think the camera makes it easy easy to photographers or make us lose our compass and vision? I guess because the cameras are doing so much for us, do you feel it's getting a little too easy? Or does it open up the creative because you don't have to worry about so much?
Both. I mean, there's no question about that. Some folks, it's easy, for instance, to be seduced by the technology. You know, put that camera on program.
Whoa,
yes.
I'm going to find the eyes for you.
Yes.
Shoot at 1.2.
Don't have to worry about so much, you know. But what you have to remember is that facility of the technology just makes your path to a good photograph easier. But being a good storyteller and making a photograph that speaks, that communicates, that has the power of memory, that has reverberation, that's still incredibly difficult.
Yeah, I think you really stick on that. You really always, your biggest worry, I think, being around you, is that you're always worried that they're not going to remember the shot. That's your major dart on the board. You really go for that.
Yeah, I mean, the ultimate, at the end of the day, you know, what is left but the photograph? You know, and you experience this with clients, you know, when you're delivering, you know, an image to a client, they don't remember that it was raining or the talent showed up late, you know, I did
exactly.
I did the first cover. I did the first ever cover of Sports Illustrated, the Latin edition of Sports Illustrated, and I had to shoot it down in it was a baseball shot down in Florida during the spring training, and it was raining, and I was underneath the roof of the stadium. Sky was gray. My editor called me up and he goes, you know, that sky was really gray. I'm like, that's not my problem, you know. So he goes, we're gonna drop out the gray and put a red background in. Are you okay with that? I'm like, what if I tell you I'm not okay? It won't matter. You know. So these are the bumps, the vicissitudes, the cuts and bruises. You know, the Simon and Garfunkel song, you know, you're standing in the ring. You know, you show every cut, every loss. You know, every time you hit that canvas, it makes you get back up again, and it makes you a better photographer.
Right. Yeah, the callus. That's the whole thing.
Yep.
I think it's really easy to forget, like, what it took to get, like, for me, there is no parade for being a pro. There's no rock star moments. No. You pulled it off. Good. That was your job, homie. Like, what, are you kidding me? And that's really what it is. Even the videos that we do here, right? They hand you a prototype camera that's got firmware 0.03 that barely has a menu in it, and it's raining, and you got 45 minutes to do it. There's no parade at the end. They're like, oh, I would have shot it like this. That's the comments, right? You know, and so it's like they don't know. It's the same thing in a different sense.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm wrapped up in that a little bit too much, but people just don't know what it is, what going through it is, and I think they kind of don't care either. It was your job, man. That's what they sent you there for, you know?
Exactly. You have to be happy. I've always said this. You have to be happy and in love with the click of the shutter, because that moment is yours, and it's not an executive decision made by committee. It's your decision and your decision only. If you screw it up, if you're too early, too late, whatever, you own it, because it's a singular act of declarative intent. And you have to be happy at that point, because everything that happens after you make the photograph and you turn it over to the client, it's not your problem anymore. You know, they're going to do whatever they're going to do with it.
Also not your shot anymore. Like it gets to a point. Like I don't edit, I don't retouch, but I just send stuff commercial. I'm like, do whatever you want to, and I see it. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, what happened there?
It's like a distant cousin twice removed of what you shot.
So what do you think about the fact that there is no shutter? Now it's a figment of your imagination, the shutter.
Yeah, no, I feel like Obi-Wan Kenobi out there. 1/200th of a second, please. You know, I mean, that kind of thing. You know, it's like, oh yes, no.
This is not the shutter speed you seek.
A little slower now. Okay. You know, yeah. No, it's cool. I mean, I said this once at a meeting. You know, the engineers had just made a presentation. The engineers at all these camera companies are amazing. I mean, I'm a lifelong Nikon user, so the Nikon engineers speak a different language.
Yeah, it's Japanese.
And so I said to the assembled photographers, I said, do we ever think about it? Like all the technology we actuate when we push that shutter button? I'm like, come on, we don't think about it. We're photographers. Light enters the lens, hits the chip, makes a picture. You know, that's it. You know, I mean, and inside when we hit that shutter button, it's freaking Star Wars.
Those 2 packs of sugars are getting in. There it is. There it is.
You know, like the amazing things happening inside that little box.
So there's a question in the chat. Not to trivialize what you just said. I know you had a lot of passion there, Joe. Rich from Mike is asking, how far into an idea do you go before you act on it? I feel like you're chewing on it second one until it's delivered.
Yeah. Yeah, it lives with you. It gnaws on you. It's, you know, you think about it in the shower. You think about it when you're driving. You know, the shot, the job. How am I going to do this? How am I going? Oh, wait a minute. I should have thought of that. And then next thing you know, I'm really blessed with a wonderful team. Lynn Del Mastro is our longtime studio manager and producer. Annie Cahill directs our social media marketing. Next thing you know, I'm on the phone. I'm like, you know, I just thought of something. And Lynn actually, when she hears that, you know, she hears, hey, Lynn, I just thought of something. It's like, oh no!
No, she starts the clock. She just starts the clock. It's all right.
Oh, please, dear God, you know, make him stop. Anyway, you know, but yeah, it becomes, you know,
you chase it. You chase the shots, man. Yeah.
You know, I actually said this in National Geographic once. Once you took on a National Geographic job, which could be like a 6-month adventure, it was like you walked around for 6 months like you had a set weight in your underwear. You know, I mean, you know, it's just always there. You know, it's just I mean, you're just conscious of it, right? Pound weight, you know, I mean, whatever. Maybe that's.
Oh, you've only got a 30-pound weight. You only got a 30.
Analogy. What camera am I looking to? Get, you know, weigh in on that.
What camera am I looking to?
Was that inappropriate?
What do I got? Too many cameras in here for you?
You do have amazing. Hey, quick shout out to Seth Miranda. This space is back at Adorama because of him, right? And I know he's got a team here, but he drove the train. He made this thing happen. And this has enabled Adorama, once again, to place a firm foothold back in the photo community. So please rally around this place. I think it's pretty amazing.
Thanks, Dad. So Mike Carbajal in the chat, Mike, didn't you win a gift card? Was that you? He's asking, and this is actually kind of, I never actually asked this. What are some of your favorite and least favorite technological advancements? Because I feel like sometimes the technical gets in the way if you're not, you know, geared for using all of it all the time. So what do you feel are some of your favorite, and what are some of your least favorite advancements in the tech?
Wow. I mean, I can only say really favorable things, certainly about lighting tech.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because it's gotten so much smarter.
Consistent.
So much better. Color consistency, dependability of transmission. You know, I grew up with radio remotes that were equivalent of a garage door opener.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, and Hawk. I grew up with Hawk radios.
That was way before me.
Ridiculous, you know. So all of that, I think, is all to the good. And certainly the realm of autofocus, super positive. All those things are happening. I think sometimes what does happen is engineers responding to the marketplace and the minutia of the marketplace. Like, I really think that there should be something, you know, there, and then you come up with a menu that's loaded with stuff that is just irrelevant to the central purpose of why we have a camera in our hands.
Yeah.
To a degree. I'm not bad-mouthing it. It's just like if you have a super specific situations, there are elements in the camera, voluminous camera menus that can help you out, to be sure. But I at the end of the day, what do we have in the realm of control? Still, at the end of the day, f-stops and shutter speeds.
But that's the thing for me is, and having had to use everything in this place, right? At some point, the thing that drives me crazy sometimes is that the idea of the brands is kind of getting to a place where they want you to feel you're getting great images. The camera will do it for you. I cannot stand when a camera's trying to think for me. It's like, you don't know what I'm trying to do. Who are you? What are you doing?
Right.
And it drives me crazy when I'm like, for example, the beginning of autofocus in some systems, you couldn't select which eyes. You just be like, no, you want that guy. There's 3 people in the shot. I don't want that guy.
Oh, okay.
And then, I think Nikon Z system was the first one I saw that I could just tap to different faces. And I was like, on their Gen 1 mirrors, I was like, they actually understand how someone's trying to shoot.
Exactly.
So, but there's so much stuff in cameras that are just trying to do what HDR stuff that doesn't look natural to me, or, it's just, the audio seems fine to everybody else. I can't.
Audio is going in and out. Audio is fine here.
If it happened out of nowhere.
Breaking up. The camera switching to stuff in the background, for example, is most annoying thing.
What?
All right, we're on it, Marcus. We're on it.
It can't be switching. It's on manual. I have no idea. Audio is fine for Dan Arango. 6 says it's good for him. Are you watching on a phone?
6. Yo, 6. You're here.
Audio's fine.
I miss you, man. Dang. 6 out there is used to be in Vancouver. We used to work together, teach together. Great guy, good shooter.
Yeah, you bring the masses. I mean, 224 people in this chat right now. That's pretty good.
Ooh, Soothing Sound said audio is still not good. And that would be logical because Seth and I are not soothing.
Yeah, so Fernando's saying just restart. It's fine for him. And majority of people saying it's fine. So I don't know. That said, now that we derailed this whole passionate conversation because of technology, Joe.
Hey, I'm not responsible.
Yeah. Oh, hey. I like how he says, like, Seth built all of this. And now it's like... Oh man! So I think you also have left boy, wow, you guys are going nuts in there right now. Yeah, restart the iPad and it fixed it. Yeah, it could just be a buffering thing on YouTube's end, so just hit restart. But we are actually hitting the hour. Before we get nuts, because now that we're kind of at it, Printique, dude, we got a holiday gift for you, homie.
All right.
Some
folks are saying my mic is not up enough, so I'm just moving it closer, and
when you turn away from it.
Yeah. All right, so I'll stay this way. It's 4:01 in New York City.
Now your name is Marianne Wong, apparently, so it's for Marianne Wong. But I'm gonna say this is from Printique for you, man. So
wow.
Well, I know it's you.
I have to move the coffee here.
Let's open this up while we're here.
Yikes!
Because I don't even know. I don't know what. Oh yeah, it's like a giant pizza box here.
Oh my goodness! Yikes! I gotta show the camera, right? There we go. All right.
So it's a metal print, 20 by 30, and this is the Olympics, clearly.
Yeah. It is.
It says Tokyo Olympics all over the place.
Yep. This is Tokyo 2020, actually shot in 21, and this is the hurdles in the rain. Photographers, we love bad weather. The athletes hate it. But this is an 800 millimeter lens on a monopod, and I had to selectively drop a focus into the United States runner because I was keying on her. So I had to get past the runner, Peterson, really good runner, and she was really leading the pack at that point. So I had to slide the focus past her. So that's where camera tech actually is super.
What camera?
This was a Nikon D6.
So you went with a DSLR.
Yes, the Z system was still at Z7 and Z7 and Z6.
You're at Gen 1.
Yeah. and those cameras were not the cameras for an Olympics. Now the Z9, I came back from Tokyo, and the Z9 came out, and I picked up the Z9, and I was like, wow, as good as the D6 is, I wish I had the Z9 at Tokyo.
Well, that could be your homage to DSLRs.
Yeah, yeah. Little bit of a sign off there.
There are a few questions before we totally cap out. Guys, try restarting your YouTube. Just refresh YouTube if you're having audio glitches. It's not on our end. It's on YouTube's end, apparently, and everyone seems to be getting fixed if you just hit a restart on it. When you get to your level of work, do you find it hard to start up on top? I guess because there's expectations, maybe?
That weighs on you a little bit. There are clients out there I've had that kind of and this happens to any photographer really, but if you have a certain level of reputation, people think like, okay, magic's going to happen. Well, magic doesn't always happen. And they show you, a broom closet, and they want you to drop a seamless and photograph the CEO in there, and it's like, there's limitations here. There's things called physical reality that I have to grapple with as a photographer. And if that physical reality is seriously adverse, it's going to negatively affect what I can produce.
Yeah. Steve Land Photography. By the way, every time I see a Land, I just think of Polaroid, like right.
Polaroid,
It just drives me crazy.
Dr. Land.
Yeah.
The original.
Developed it,
Yep.
The anti-halation layer was his biggest hurdle, trying to get it to create a temporary anti-halation layer where it was black, so it blocked the light so it could actually develop on its own and then dissipate.
And then, yes. What he said.
So, Soothing Sounds, like, do you occasionally... wait. I just missed... I just had that shot. Oh, Steve Land, do either of you have an image that you emotionally connects you to the time that you took it and will remain that way? Like, I feel like you have a ton of those.
Yeah, I mean it's the time of your life, the time of that moment that you're assigned, whether it's a momentous occasion, you're on the floor of a convention when someone is named the candidate for president or something like that. Those are sort of not particularly emotional. You're just aware of doing your job at an important moment in history.
Do you have one image that you can pull out of your Rolodex that you'd say is prominent for that? I think I could pull mine.
Yeah, go for it then. Let me think on it.
A long time ago, in my BMX days, I was shooting 3200 speed black and white film, filled cargo pockets. I could barely move. I used to have an unshot film and then shot film, put it on the other pocket. Hot. It was super hot. I was upstate for the FBM Ghetto Jam. There was basically a skate park built out of garbage, and it was like this big thing that everyone gathered for it. And this kid came out of nowhere and was just shredding and dominating. But he went huge on this wall, and from the wall, had to have been like 15 feet, just went straight down to his face. And his nose broke into his face. And so everyone stops and rushes. If you look at these shots are probably in Dig BMX magazine somewhere. It just blood pouring out of him, but it was silhouetted because I was shooting 3200. It was so silhouetted, but you saw what was going on without seeing what was going on. But the one thing, if you noticed in that image, everybody's cameras were by their side looking at this kid. And I was like, I just remember being really proud of myself that like, I couldn't do anything. I'm not a doctor on the EMT. I couldn't do anything, but I got those shots and they ended up being the story for that. And I always remember that moment of like, I didn't think about it. I just was still doing what I was there for. And I hold that to this day. Anytime I'm doing a job, it's like, you get it, and,
Sure.
You're going to care about people's well-being, sure, but like I couldn't do anything. There's 50 other people I couldn't do anything either. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of emotional experiences. I was very involved in 9/11, in the aftermath of 9/11, et cetera. But, one thing just harking way back, I mean, the tenacity of being a photographer. And I realized, it was just in me. I had just come back from shooting the American Dance Machine for ABC television. And I had a little studio apartment.
The American Dance Machine.
Yep. They were
Wow.
on TV, and I had to shoot the background stills. And I got into bed, and I didn't even have a TV. I had a transistor radio. And I was kind of a news hound back then. I turned on my my radio, and Lennon had been shot. And, WNEW FM was on, I think, was it Vince Scelsa? I remember him saying, for the first time in my life on the radio, I'm speechless. And he turned on Lennon's music. And I got up out of bed, and I realized I have to go and shoot pictures now. This is because the Dakota was 5 blocks away from my apartment. And so I went there, and I spent the next 24 hours in the front of the Dakota. We chased it down. I think it was the Roosevelt Hospital that he was brought to. He was basically DOA. And I spent the next 24 hours in front of the Dakota documenting the people, flowers, and the commemorative services that were just spontaneously. And I realized at that moment, this is a role as a photographer that you have to fulfill. You have to get out of bed.
Yeah.
You have to go.
No one's going to tell you to go shoot.
Right.
You got to.
I didn't have an assignment.
Right.
But the assignment was inside of me and spoke and loudly in my head said, get out of bed and go.
Way to completely show me up here. Gosh, damn, wow. This guy rode a bike and fell. Well, Lennon was shot. And I was like, God. Having said that, Joe, one last question. We'll go for it. And I think this leads into that. How do you stop thinking about stops and shutter speed and focus on the image? And I'm going to say, getting so dialed with the technical is the goal to where it doesn't becoming a thing for you, that you are focusing on the image.
Yeah, it's the f-stops and shutter speeds have to be like a computer program running in the background of your head. What's in the foreground of your head is what am I shooting right here, right now? And
what applies? What am I trying to do? Do I need motion blur? Do I want to get it shallow? Do I need it all sharp? Like, you're making those decisions and you're not going, well, what would make them pop from the background? Just go shallow, dude.
We're all there. We're puddles of anxiety behind the lens. What are we doing? Is it the right thing? Greg Heisler used to teach a workshop that he called very appropriately, and I'm using this word again, he called the workshop The Appropriate Response. And that's a really great title because that's what we're all seeking. It's intuitive. It's a gut call. Sometimes we blow it. But what we are seeking is the appropriate response to the moment or subject at hand.
Yeah. And Joe's been in a lot of high pressure, obviously, situations of shootings like that. I got to say, one of the funnest times I had with Joe shooting, period, was when he came here to shoot in the event space when I built the event space. Joe didn't care about anything. He was like, I guess so. Like, just hearing him go like, man, was the best. Because like, you just were just like, yeah, let's throw gels. What do you think about this? I'm like, throw a green gel on the floor. Yeah, get a green gel. You just were like having fun. I haven't seen you do that in a long time. Everything for you that we worked on has been like job. Where can I go? You do this the Joe thing where you're like at the back of the camera. Do you do this? You go, then you move the finger a little bit. You go, yeah, okay. You do that, but here you're just like, yeah, wow, throw the pizza box in there. I guess, I don't know, put a ladder in the store. And I was like, this is awesome. Like, Joe's just in a playground. And I think that's the privilege. You've been through so much that even just like joking around, you get a really great image. And look, that's my portrait after all the blood and sweat I put into this place. I got a portrait of Joe McNally, man. It was so much fun. I just think that you got to award yourself some of those every now and then too. Is just goof around, man.
Absolutely, especially when you're demonstrating for people. I think one of the important things is you have to be perceived to be having fun.
Yep.
Yourself.
Yeah. You have to. People have to want to shoot after you did a demo, and that's why I always end my demos with, "Do you guys want to go shoot now?" They don't feel hyped up. I didn't do it. I didn't get it up. Man.
Right.
I didn't get it going.
Yep.
So, man, we just did an hour, Joe.
Jeez. All right.
I feel like we did 2 hours at Grays of Westminster. We're like, what?
Yeah.
I just started talking about birds. What are you talking about? I just got it here. Is there anything you want to promote? I know he's got The Real Deal, which is his latest book, which is, whoa. I mean, that is a full... If you're only going to get one Joe McNally book, I like Sketching with Light, but I would say this is more of a complete... The Joe McNally book is The Real Deal.
Yeah, it's kind of it's not a retrospective, but it's a bit of a summation of a lot of things, and there's a lot of learning in it. It's anecdotally presented. It's not like, okay, put the light here. It's not that kind of book.
But it's also reflective. Like you definitely mix the time and you going back to it, and I think it shows how much not mature, but you've evolved and grown. And looking back, it's just very interesting. I think the one thing you can never get is how someone thinks, right? And I think when we do demos, I remember the first time Joe did a demo and I was helping him out. We're watching him. He's going over all this technical, hardcore stuff, and I just remember going like, "Yeah, but Joe, what's that blue plastic piece that you put on that thing?" Like that's all I cared about, because everyone gets their own thing out of it. And with Joe's book, I think you get those little things because he's really taking you through everything. And you might pick up something that someone else doesn't from that book. And that rarely happens in our world because usually, like we said, here's a book of landscapes. Yay. Here's some puffins. Did I say someone, Aurora Borealis? Here you go. But you really give us the field notes. And I think that's important to get. So check out Sketching with Light, my favorite. Check out The Real Deal. And the book that started me on Joe was The Hot Shoot Diaries. If you're a small strobe shooter, I think it's worth a read for sure. Joe, man, we've been through it, huh? You sick of me yet?
Ups and downs. Yeah,
you sick of me yet, man?
Yeah, no, this has been fun. It's always fun, yeah.
Well, we got to get you back on some things. We got to get your channel rolling. Follow his own YouTube channel if you aren't already. Just look up Joe McNally. You got stuff on everything. Nikon's channel, Manfrotto's channel, everywhere. So
it's a bit scattered, yeah, but it's what can I say? It's been a hectic ride, but it's been a lot of fun.
And you're still going. Look at you. You can still stand up straight and everything. Look at you.
Yeah, I'm still taking assignments.
He's only dragging 1 foot. It's amazing.
Yeah. I'm also dragging 1 foot up here, but let's not go there. Let's kind of go there.
Joe, you want to go get some nosh?
Yeah, I'm down.
All right, guys. Thank you guys so much. Don't forget to hit like, share the video around, hit subscribe, and write some comments to Joe. He needs your approval. Clearly, the man needs your validation.
Desperately.
What's up? Oh, Printique. That's right. I forgot. See that? I got my guy over here. Printique, thanks for sponsoring this. And don't forget, right now, you guys can use this code, Gifted20, for 20% off anything over $50 as an order, which is a great time for the holidays and everything like that. Go for it. And you got to print. You just got to print from them. Look at you.
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
Do you even have wall space? Your place is crazy, man.
I'll find some place to put it up. Absolutely.
Put it on the ceiling. Do it.
Yeah.
Live your truth. Guys, thank you so much. And don't forget, Wednesdays, 11 a.m. We keep on doing these. So if you're into this stuff, we this is our 11th episode of this.
That's a great thing. I mean, I think, people hang their hat on this kind of stuff because you're getting a wide range of different people in. That's terrific.
Check out last week's with Robert Kelly. It was a really fun watch. He's a comedian, but he's also a creator. And who do we got next? Susan Mangano, right? Susan Mangano's next. She does a lot of long exposure type stuff. She's a really sweet woman. We're going to talk to her next week. And then and that's the end of the year. And I got some other people coming for you. But Joe, my man.
Nice.
You guys know each other so well.
Will I do that again?
You've got to be so tired of me by now. London must have exhausted the hell. We go to dinner and I'm like, I'm just going to try not to embarrass you, Joe. I'm just going to try not to. What's that fork for?
No, we were. London was definitely not ready for us, but we had a blast and we had a great class. We really had a great class. And shout out to, as they say over there, Nikon UK, put it on, and also just a huge shout out to ProPhoto.
Yeah,
ProPhoto has really been knocking it back.
Yeah, they've been hugely supportive. They've been putting out some great gear. And if you guys want to see that workshop, there's a video on my channel, my personal channel, of a vlog of it that I tried to piece together with my phone fried. So anyway, thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of the day, and we will see you on the next one. Later, guys.